The great crystal dome of Nexus Prime had never held so many angry voices. 847 different species filled the massive amphitheater, their various forms creating a sea of colors, shapes, and sounds that would have amazed any human observer. But no human was welcome here today except one. Ambassador Kira Chen Park sat in the defendant's chair at the center of the dome. Her small human form looked tiny, surrounded by the towering Vorthans, the armored Thrakari, and the floating energy beings from the outer rim. She had represented Earth in this galactic body for 5 years, always working for peace between humans and the rest of the galaxy. Today, she knew that peace was about to die. Council leader Zeftar rose from his throne-like seat. The Vorthon's blue skin gleamed under the dome's lights as his 4 arms gestured dramatically. His voice boomed through the chamber's translation system, reaching every species in their own language. Fellow beings of the galaxy, Zeftar began, his tone heavy with false sadness. We gather today to address a growing threat to our peaceful civilization. The humans of Earth have shown their true nature, and we can no longer ignore the danger they represent. Kira felt her heart sink. She had feared this day would come, but hoped the galaxy's leaders would be wiser than this. Around her, she could see representatives nodding their heads or making whatever gesture their species used to show agreement. In just 50 years, Zeftar continued, humans have spread across 200 worlds. They claim to be peaceful colonists, but look at the speed of their expansion. No species in galactic history has moved so fast across the stars. A massive hologram appeared above the amphitheater, showing the galaxy with tiny red dots marking human colonies. To Kira, it looked like a small scattering of settlements across the vast emptiness of space. To the alien observers, it apparently looked like an invasion. They tell us they come in peace, rumbled Grokthal, the Thrakari war chief. His species looked like walking tanks, with thick armor plates covering their bodies. But watch this. Quote, the hologram changed to show footage from a human military exercise. Earth's space fleet moved in perfect formation, their ships firing practice rounds at asteroid targets. The display showed human pilots working together with precise timing, their vessels dancing through space like they were born to fight among the stars. Look at their coordination, Grokthal growled. Look at how they move as one mind. This is not the behavior of peaceful farmers and traders. This is a war machine, preparing to strike. Kira stood up, her voice carrying clearly through the dome's acoustics. Honored Council, you are watching our defense exercises. Every species here maintains military forces. Earth has never attacked another world, never invaded another species' territory. We have always sought peaceful contact and fair trade. Peaceful? Zeftar's laugh was cold. Your species conquered your own world through endless warfare. Your history is written in blood. Do you expect us to believe you have suddenly become saints among the stars? We learned from our mistakes, Kira replied. Earth united after we nearly destroyed ourselves. We chose cooperation over conflict. Our colonies exist because we were invited by species seeking human help with farming, engineering, and medicine. Help that always comes with human settlements, accused a serpentine delegate from the inner worlds. Help that slowly becomes human control. The accusations continued for hours. Species after species rose to speak against humanity, painting every human action in the darkest possible light. Human trade missions became spy operations. Human medical aid became biological warfare preparation. Human colonies became military bases waiting to launch attacks. Kira defended her species as best she could, but she knew the Council had already made their decision before the session began. The evidence was twisted, the logic flawed, but the fear was real. 800 other species saw humanity's rapid growth and decided it had to be stopped. The question before us is simple, Zeftar declared as the accusations finally ended. Do we act now to prevent human aggression? Or do we wait until it is too late to defend ourselves? There is no human aggression, Kira shouted, her voice breaking with emotion. We have lived in peace with every species we have met. We have shared our knowledge, our culture, our friendship. Why do you insist on seeing war where there is only hope for cooperation? Because your species is too dangerous to trust, said Admiral Vexnor of the Zenthari fleet. The tall, elegant alien spoke with the cold certainty of someone who had never lost a battle. Your expansion rate, your military capabilities, your obvious preparation for conflict, all of this points to future aggression. We must act before you become too strong to stop. We. The vote, when it came, was swift and brutal. 731 species voted to authorize preventive military action against Earth. 116 voted against the motion, mostly species that had direct contact with human colonies and knew the truth of human nature. But it was not nearly enough. The motion passes, Zeftar announced with satisfaction. Admiral Vexnor, you are hereby authorized to assemble a joint fleet to neutralize the human threat. Use whatever force is necessary to ensure they can never threaten galactic peace. Admiral Vexnor bowed gracefully. I will require 9,700 ships to guarantee success. The humans have proven themselves clever, so we must not take chances. Granted, Zeftar said immediately. The largest fleet in galactic history will carry out this necessary task. Kira felt the world spinning around her. Nearly 10,000 warships against Earth's small defense fleet of perhaps 400 vessels. It would not be a battle. It would be the complete destruction of her species. In recognition of your years of service, Zeftar said to her with mock kindness, you will be given 48 hours to warn your people before the fleet arrives. This mercy demonstrates that we take no pleasure in what must be done. As the council session ended and delegates began filing out, chattering excitedly about the coming victory, Kira ran for her ship. Her hands shook as she activated the emergency communication system and began transmitting to Earth. Earth Command, this is Ambassador Chen Park, she said into the recorder, her voice steady despite the tears running down her face. The Galactic Council has voted for war. 9,700 ships are coming to destroy us. You have maybe 2 days to prepare. I am so sorry. I failed to save us. The message would take 18 hours to reach Earth. Admiral Vexnor's fleet would begin jumping to the Sol system in 48 hours. As Kira's ship raced through hyperspace toward home, she tried not to think about how utterly hopeless humanity's situation had become. President Min Soo-jin had been sleeping when the emergency alert woke her. Now, 18 hours later, she sat in the Global Defense Council chamber, deep beneath Geneva, watching humanity's greatest military minds try to solve an impossible problem. 9,700 ships. Fleet Admiral Yuki Tanaka repeated for the 4th time, as if saying the number again might make it smaller. Against our 412 active vessels. The math is not encouraging. The math is suicide, General Marcus Thompson said bluntly. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the table edge until his knuckles turned white. We cannot win a straight fight against those numbers. President Min looked around the table at Earth's defenders. These men and women had dedicated their lives to protecting humanity, but none of them had ever faced anything like this. The Galactic Council represented the combined military might of 800 species across thousands of worlds. Earth had been part of the galactic community for only 50 years, and most of that time had been spent in peaceful exploration and trade. What about our allies? Asked Minister Park Jin-woo, Earth's diplomatic chief. Surely some council species will refuse to participate in this madness. 116 species voted against the war authorization, Admiral Tanaka replied. But their fleets are small, and they cannot openly oppose the council without risking their own destruction. We are alone in this. Not alone, said Dr. Elena Vasquez, quietly. The elderly scientist had been silent through most of the emergency session, but now all eyes turned to her. We have something the Council does not know about. The SHIELD project? President Min asked. Elena, please tell me you have good news. Dr. Vasquez stood and activated the chamber's holographic display. Technical diagrams filled the air above the table, showing energy patterns and quantum field equations that only she and a handful of other scientists truly understood. For the past 5 years, we have been researching human bioneural interfaces, she explained. We discovered something remarkable about our species. When humans feel strong protective emotions, love for family, duty to protect others, our brains generate measurable quantum field fluctuations. English, please, General Thompson growled. Our emotions create energy, Doctor. Vasquez simplified. Specifically, when we want to protect someone or something we care about, that feeling generates a quantum field that can be amplified and projected through our technology. She changed the hologram to show a human ship surrounded by a glowing energy barrier. We have been testing emotional resonance shields in secret. The more determined a human crew is to protect what they love, the stronger their ship's defenses become. Admiral Tanaka leaned forward. How strong? In our tests, a single frigate with a crew thinking about their families at home survived direct hits from weapons that should have vaporized it, Doctor, Vasquez said. The shield strength increases with the number of humans aboard and the intensity of their protective feelings. But it only works with human crews? The President asked. Correct. We tested with volunteers from allied species, but they cannot generate the same quantum resonance patterns. This appears to be unique to human neural structure, probably evolved from our pack-hunting ancestors and our unusually strong parental bonds. General Thompson was already thinking tactically. How many ships can we outfit with these shields? Every vessel in the fleet, Doctor, Vasquez replied. We have been installing the basic hardware for months under the guise of standard upgrades. We can activate the systems in 36 hours. What about ground defenses? Asked Captain Jin Watanabe, the youngest officer at the table. If the fleet fails, they will attack Earth directly. Underground cities are ready to receive the entire civilian population, General Thompson reported. We have been preparing for this possibility since the first diplomatic tensions with the Council. Every major city has evacuation tunnels to deep shelters that can survive orbital bombardment. President Min made the decision that would define humanity's future. Do it. Activate the shield systems. Begin civilian evacuation immediately. Call back every ship from the outer colonies. Ma'am, Admiral Tanaka said carefully, the colonial fleets will take 3 days to reach Earth. If the alien armada arrives on schedule, our colonies will be defenseless. The colonies have already begun their own evacuations, Captain Watanabe reported. Colonial Governor Lee Dongmin sent word that all human settlements are going underground. The aliens can have empty buildings if they want them. Over the next 30 hours, Earth transformed into a fortress. Every human military vessel within reach of the Sol system raced toward home at maximum speed. Cargo ships and civilian transports were hastily converted into armed vessels and given volunteer crews of reservists and civilian pilots. In the orbital shipyards around Earth's moon, engineers worked around the clock to install the emotional resonance shield generators on every available spacecraft. The technology was still experimental, but it was humanity's only hope against impossible odds. Dr. Vasquez personally oversaw the installation on Admiral Tanaka's flagship, the heavy cruiser Times Soul's Pride **. As technicians calibrated the quantum field projectors, she explained the system to the ship's crew. The shields respond to your emotions, she told them. The more you care about protecting Earth, protecting your families, protecting each other, the stronger your defenses will be. Do not try to suppress your feelings in battle. Captain Sarah Kim Okafor, commanding the destroyer Times Busan Thunder **, gathered her crew for a similar briefing. We are going to face the largest fleet in galactic history, she told them honestly. They outnumber us 24-1. but they do not understand what they are fighting. They think we are conquerors, like themselves. They do not know we are parents, children, friends, and lovers defending our home. As the alien armada began its final approach to the Sol system, humanity's preparations reached their climax. 412 ships took defensive positions around Earth and its moon. Every vessel carried a human crew, every crew member thinking of someone they loved, someone they had sworn to protect. In the deep command bunker, President Min watched the tactical displays as sensors detected the incoming alien fleet at the edge of the solar system. 9,700 ships against 400. The greatest military mismatch in human history. "Admiral," she said to Tanaka, "you are authorized to engage the enemy at your discretion. Defend our world." "Yes, ma'am," Admiral Tanaka replied from the bridge of the Times Soul's Pride asterisk. Around him, his officers checked their stations one final time. In the quantum field generators, energy patterns pulsed in rhythm with human heartbeats, waiting to transform love into the power to survive. The alien armada had come to destroy a species they saw as dangerous conquerors. Instead, they were about to discover what happened when humans fought to protect everything they held dear. Admiral Vex Nor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Times Eternal Victory asterisk, and smiled at the sight before him. The Sol system spread out on his tactical displays like a target waiting to be destroyed. Earth, that small blue world that housed the dangerous humans, hung in space ahead of his fleet like a ripe fruit ready to be plucked. "All ships report ready for combat, Admiral," announced his tactical officer. The young Zenthari's voice carried the excitement of someone about to witness history. "Excellent," Vex Nor replied. "Signal the fleet. We advance in formation. The humans will see our overwhelming force and surrender before we fire a shot." 9,700 ships moved forward through the darkness of space. The largest fleet ever assembled by the Galactic Council, representing the combined military might of 200 different species. Vorthan battleships flew alongside Thrakari warcruisers. Delicate crystalline vessels from the inner worlds moved in perfect formation with the brutal metal destroyers of the rim worlds. Never before had so many species united for a single purpose. At the front of the armada, War Chief Grokthal commanded a squadron of Thrakari heavy assault ships. His species had conquered 40 worlds through pure aggression, and he looked forward to adding Earth to that list. "Humans," he growled to his bridge crew. "Soft beings who think talking can solve everything. They will learn what real strength looks like." But as the alien fleet approached Earth's defensive line, something unexpected happened. The 400 human ships did not retreat. They did not send surrender signals. Instead, they moved into tight defensive formations around their homeworld, small groups of vessels taking positions like they intended to fight. "Admiral," his sensor operator called out, "the human fleet is moving to engage. Should we target their command ships?" Vex Nor frowned. He had expected the humans to see the hopelessness of their situation and give up immediately. No species was foolish enough to fight when outnumbered 24-1. "Signal the human fleet," he ordered. "Tell them they have one chance to surrender before we open fire." On the bridge of the Times Soul's Pride asterisk, Admiral Tanaka received the alien ultimatum with calm determination. Around him, his bridge crew sat at their stations, each thinking of home, family, and duty. In the quantum field, generators throughout the ship, energy patterns pulsed with their shared protective instincts. "All ships," Tanaka broadcast to the human fleet, "remember why we fight. We are not here for conquest or glory. We are here because Earth is behind us, and Earth must not fall." Captain Lee Dong-hyun, commanding the destroyer Times Incheon Dawn asterisk, responded first. "Admiral, my crew is ready. Our shields are showing full resonance." Across the human fleet, similar reports came in. The emotional resonance shields were active, drawing power from the hearts and minds of every human crew member. Dr. Vasquez had been right. When humans fought to protect what they loved, they became something more than the sum of their individual parts. "Human fleet," came Admiral Vex Nor's cold voice over the communications channel. "This is your final warning. Surrender now or be destroyed." Admiral Tanaka's reply was broadcast across all frequencies so every alien ship could hear it clearly. "This is Admiral Tanaka of Earth Defense Command. We do not surrender our home. If you want Earth, you will have to go through us." The first shots came from Grokthal's assault squadron. Massive plasma cannons that had reduced fortified cities to ash fired at the leading human vessels. The war chief expected to see the small human ships vaporized instantly, their destruction serving as an example to the rest of the fleet. Instead, the alien weapons struck shimmering energy barriers around the human ships. The shields flared with brilliant light as they absorbed the incoming fire, growing brighter and stronger with each hit. Not one human vessel was destroyed. "Impossible," Grokthal snarled, staring at his tactical display. "Those were direct hits. Nothing should have survived." Admiral Vex Nor was equally shocked. His sensors showed the human ships surrounded by energy fields, unlike anything in galactic databases. "All ships, full assault," he ordered. "Overwhelming firepower will break whatever technology they are using." 9,000 alien ships opened fire at once. The space around Earth lit up like a star as countless weapons struck the human defensive line. Plasma beams, particle cannons, fusion missiles, and quantum torpedoes filled the darkness with deadly energy. But the human ships endured. Their shields absorbed every shot, the quantum fields growing stronger as human crews felt the alien assault and thought of their families sleeping safely in the underground shelters below. Each impact made them more determined to protect Earth, and their determination made the shields more powerful. Captain Sarah Kim Okafor watched her tactical display as enemy fire struck her ship times, Busan Thunder times, again and again. "Shields holding at 112%, her engineer reported in amazement. "The resonance field is actually getting stronger." "All ships, advance," Admiral Tanaka ordered. The human fleet moved forward, closing the distance with the alien armada, while their shields blazed like small suns around them. Commander Park Min-jun, leading a squadron of converted civilian ships, felt his crew's determination spike as they approached the enemy. His vessel, the former cargo hauler times Daegu's Hope Asterisk, had been fitted with shields and armed with weapons stripped from decommissioned frigates. The volunteer crew was made up of teachers, farmers, and factory workers who had insisted on joining the fight. "We were not soldiers yesterday," Park told his crew over the intercom. "But today, we defend our children's future. Today, we are exactly what Earth needs us to be." The first human counterattack came from Captain Lee's destroyer squadron. Moving with precision that amazed the alien observers, the human ships targeted weak points in enemy formation and struck with focused fire. 3 Thrakari cruisers exploded in rapid succession as human weapons found gaps in their armor. "How are they targeting us so precisely?" demanded a Vorthan commander, as his ship's shields failed under sustained human fire. "Their weapons should not be able to penetrate our defenses." Dr. Vasquez, monitoring the battle from Earth's command center, smiled as she watched her readings. The emotional resonance was affecting more than just the shields. Human weapon systems were somehow becoming more accurate, more powerful. As if the crew's protective instincts were enhancing every aspect of their ship's performance. War Chief Grokthal led a desperate charge directly at the human center, hoping to break their formation through sheer aggression. His heavy assault ship times, Iron Claw times, accelerated toward Admiral Tanaka's flagship, all weapons firing. But the time's Soul's Pride times did not retreat. Instead, it turned to meet the attack head-on, its shields blazing brighter as Admiral Tanaka and his crew thought of their duty to protect Earth. The 2 ships crashed together in a storm of weapons, fire, and energy shields, neither giving ground. When the energy cleared, the Times' Ironclaw Times was drifting powerless, its armor cracked, and weapons destroyed. The Times' Soul's Pride Times hung in space nearby, its shields still glowing, its crew still fighting. Impossible, Grokthal whispered as his damaged ship fell away from the battle line. They should have been destroyed. We are the strongest warriors in the galaxy. By the end of the first day of battle, the alien armada had lost 800 ships, while the human fleet remained almost intact. Admiral Vexnor stared at his casualty reports in disbelief, unable to understand how his overwhelming numerical advantage had become meaningless against an enemy that simply would not break. The humans had shown the galaxy something it had never seen before. Warriors who fought not for conquest or glory, but purely to protect what they loved. And that difference was about to change everything. Admiral Vexnor called an emergency meeting of his fleet commanders on the second day of battle. The holographic conference room aboard the Times, Eternal Victory Times, filled with the images of alien officers, their various faces showing confusion, anger, and growing fear. "Explain to me," Vexnor demanded, his elegant Zenthari features twisted with frustration. "How we have lost 800 ships to an enemy that should have been crushed in the first hour." War Chief Grokthal's massive form dominated one side of the display, his armored face scarred from his failed assault on the human flagship. "Their shields are like nothing we have ever encountered. Our most powerful weapons cannot penetrate them. More than that," added Commander Ziltak of the Crystalline Innerworld Fleet, "their defensive systems appear to be getting stronger. My science officers report energy readings that increase with each engagement." Admiral Vexnor studied the tactical reports with growing unease. The human fleet showed no signs of weakening after a full day of continuous combat. If anything, their ships seemed to be fighting with greater coordination and effectiveness than before. "Perhaps we should consider withdrawing to request reinforcements," suggested a nervous officer from the Outer Rim territories. "Absolutely not," Vexnor snapped. "The Council sent 9,000 ships to end this threat. We will not return in shame to ask for more." But privately, the Admiral was beginning to doubt. His fleet still outnumbered the humans by more than 20 to 1. But numbers meant nothing if his weapons could not damage enemy ships. He needed a new strategy, something that would break human morale and force them to surrender. On the bridge of the Times Soul's Pride *, Admiral Tanaka received reports from across his fleet. Not one human ship had been lost in the first day of fighting, though several showed damage from the constant alien assault. More importantly, his crews were reporting something. Dr. Vasquez had predicted. Their shields and weapons seemed to be working better than ever. "Admiral," Captain Lee reported from the Times Incheon Dawn *. "My tactical officer says our targeting systems are operating at 130% efficiency. We are hitting targets we should not be able to hit at this range." Captain Sarah Kim Okafor confirmed similar readings. "Our particle beams are penetrating alien armor that should have stopped them. It is like our weapons are adapting to become more effective." Dr. Vasquez, monitoring the quantum resonance patterns from Earth's command center, was not surprised by these reports. "The emotional resonance effect is spreading beyond the shield generators," she explained to President Min. "Human determination to protect Earth is somehow enhancing all of their ship systems." "How is that possible?" the President asked. "We do not fully understand it yet, Doctor," Vasquez admitted. "But human emotions appear to interact with quantum fields in ways we never imagined. The stronger their protective instincts, the more effective their entire ship becomes." Meanwhile, Admiral Vexnor was implementing his new strategy. If he could not break the human fleet through direct assault, he would force them to surrender by threatening what they fought to protect. "All civilian evacuation ships in the outer system," he broadcast on all frequencies. "You are ordered to surrender immediately. Any vessel attempting to flee will be destroyed." Captain Jin Watanabe, escorting a convoy of refugee ships toward the safety of the asteroid belt, received the alien ultimatum with cold anger. His destroyer Times, Gwangju's Shield Times, was one of the newest ships in the human fleet, and his crew was made up of young officers eager to prove themselves in battle. Sir, his communications officer reported, the alien fleet is moving to intercept the civilian convoy. They are targeting non-combatant vessels. Captain Watanabe felt something change inside him as he watched alien warships moving toward helpless refugee transports. These ships carried families, children, elderly civilians who had already lost their homes to this unprovoked war. The thought of innocent people being murdered by alien aggression filled him with protective fury unlike anything he had ever experienced. All ships, he broadcast to his escort squadron, protect the convoy at all costs. No alien ship reaches those civilians. The quantum resonance aboard the Times Guangzhou's shield times spiked to levels Dr. Vasquez had never recorded. The ship's shields blazed so brightly they could be seen from Earth's surface, and its weapons charged to power levels that should have overloaded the ship's systems. When Admiral Vex Nor's interceptor fleet met Captain Watanabe's escorts, the result shocked both sides. The human ships did not just resist the alien attack. They tore through the alien formation like avenging angels. Ship after ship of the most advanced warships in galactic history exploded under human fire that seemed to ignore shields and armor equally. Impossible, Vex Nor whispered as he watched 50 of his ships destroyed in less than 10 minutes. What has happened to their weapons? The answer came from Dr. Vasquez's readings on Earth. The resonance effect has reached critical levels, she reported to the command center. When humans fight to protect innocent civilians, the quantum enhancement becomes exponentially more powerful. Across the battlefield, other human crews saw what happened to the ships that threatened civilian evacuees. The knowledge that aliens were willing to murder helpless refugees filled every human heart with the same protective rage that had transformed Captain Watanabe's squadron. Commander Park Min-jun, still commanding his converted cargo ship Times Daegu's Hope Asterisk, felt his volunteer crew's determination crystallize into something beyond mere courage. These were teachers who had left their classrooms to defend their students' future. Farmers who had abandoned their fields to protect their families' lives. Workers who had set aside their tools to take up arms for their children's sake. All civilian ships, Park broadcast to the refugee convoy, continue to the belt stations. No alien will touch you while we draw breath. The alien fleet commanders began to panic as they watched their forces being systematically destroyed by an enemy they could no longer understand. Ships that had conquered star systems were being torn apart by converted freighters crewed by amateur soldiers. War Chief Grokthal, his own ship barely functional after its earlier encounter with human forces, tried to rally his remaining squadrons for one final assault. They are still just humans, he roared over the communication system. We are the greatest warriors in the galaxy. We cannot be defeated by these weak mammals. But his words rang hollow as another dozen Thrakari cruisers exploded under human fire. The weak mammals were fighting with a ferocity and effectiveness that none of the galaxy's greatest military minds could explain or counter. Admiral Vex Nor realized with growing horror that his overwhelming numerical advantage was disappearing. The humans were not just winning individual battles, they were destroying his fleet faster than he could deploy it. At this rate, the largest armada in galactic history would be reduced to scrap metal within days. By the end of the second day of fighting, Admiral Vex Nor had lost over 2,000 ships, while the human casualties remained negligible. His confidence was shattered, his strategy in ruins, and his fleet beginning to show signs of panic. For the first time in his military career, the great Admiral Vex Nor began to consider the possibility of defeat. The humans had proven themselves capable of something the galaxy had never seen, turning love into a weapon more powerful than anything technology could create. The third day of battle would prove whether even the greatest fleet in galactic history could stand against the fury of humans defending their home. Admiral Vex Nor stared at his tactical display in disbelief. 5 days of continuous battle had reduced his mighty armada from 9,700 ships to fewer than 3,000. The human fleet, which should have been destroyed in the first hour of fighting, remained almost intact and fought with terrifying effectiveness. Admiral, his communications officer reported with barely controlled panic. The Vorthan's 7th Fleet is requesting permission to withdraw. They have lost 80% of their ships. Denied, Vexnor snapped, but his voice lacked conviction. Around him, his bridge crew worked with the desperate efficiency of beings who knew they were losing a war they should have won easily. Across the alien formation, individual species commanders were reaching the same terrible conclusion. The greatest military force in galactic history was being systematically destroyed by 400 human ships defending their homeworld. War Chief Grokthal, his flagship barely functional and his assault fleet reduced to a handful of damaged vessels, finally admitted what he had refused to believe. These humans, he growled to his remaining officers. They do not fight like any warriors we have known. They fight like parents protecting their young. And that makes them more dangerous than all our weapons. The truth was spreading through the alien fleet as survivors compared notes on human tactics and capabilities. The humans did not fight for conquest or glory or even survival. They fought purely to protect what they loved, and that single-minded devotion had transformed them into something beyond the galaxy's understanding. Captain Lee Dong-hyun coordinated the final human assault from his destroyer times Incheon Dawn ***. His ship, like every vessel in the human fleet, blazed with quantum resonance energy that had grown stronger with each day of battle. The crew no longer seemed entirely human. They moved with perfect coordination, anticipated each other's actions, and fought as if they shared a single mind focused on protecting Earth. All ships, Admiral Tanaka broadcast from the Times Soul's Pride ***. The enemy is breaking. Drive them from our system and ensure they understand the price of threatening Earth. Captain Sarah Kim Okafor led her squadron in a sweeping attack that shattered the remaining Thrakari formations. Her crew worked their weapons and engines with impossible precision, their protective instincts somehow guiding every shot to find its target. The Times Busan Thunder Times carved through enemy lines like it was dancing rather than fighting. Commander Park Min-jun's converted cargo ship Times Daegu's Hope Times had become legend among both human and alien forces. The volunteer crew of civilians had destroyed more enemy vessels than most military squadrons. Their determination to protect their families translating into tactical brilliance that amazed professional soldiers. Target the command ship, Park ordered, as his makeshift warship approached Admiral Vexnor's flagship. End this war. The Times' eternal victory ***, pride of the Zenthari fleet and terror of a dozen conquered worlds, found itself surrounded by human ships whose shields burned bright enough to blind sensors. Admiral Vexnor realized with final certainty that his fleet was doomed. All ships, he broadcast on emergency frequencies, general retreat. Repeat. All ships, retreat. Immediately. The order came too late for most of the alien armada. Human forces pursued the fleeing aliens with relentless efficiency, ensuring that as few ships as possible escaped to threaten Earth again. Captain Jin Watanabe's destroyer, Times Gwangju's shield ***, still blazing with the protective fury that had saved the civilian convoy, led the chase toward the edge of the solar system. When the battle finally ended, only 18 alien ships managed to jump to hyperspace and flee toward Galactic Council territory. Behind them, they left the wreckage of the mightiest fleet ever assembled, destroyed by humans fighting to protect their home. The surviving alien commanders who limped back to Nexus Prime brought with them tales that would reshape galactic civilization. They spoke of human shields that grew stronger under fire, weapons that became more accurate when operated by crews thinking of their families, and tactics guided by protective instincts that no military academy had ever taught. It is impossible, Council leader Zeftar insisted when he heard the reports. No species can defeat such overwhelming odds. I saw it myself, Admiral Vexnor replied, his elegant features haggard from defeat. The humans possess something we do not understand. Their emotions create actual, measurable effects on their technology. When they fight to protect what they love, they become unstoppable. The Galactic Council dissolved in chaos as species blamed each other for the catastrophic failure. Some demanded immediate revenge attacks, while others called for peace negotiations with the clearly dangerous humans. The unity that had created the Great Armada crumbled into factions and recriminations. Ambassador Kira Chen Park returned to Nexus Prime 3 weeks later, but this time she did not sit in the defendant's chair. She stood at the speaker's podium as the representative of a species that had proven its strength beyond question. "Honored Council," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the crystal dome. "Earth offers peace to all species that desire it. We have no wish for conquest or revenge, but we will never again tolerate threats to our people or our allies." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Species after species rose to request trade agreements, defensive pacts, and cultural exchanges with the humans who had achieved the impossible. The fear that had driven the war was replaced by respect and a desperate desire to understand how humans had accomplished their victory. Dr. Elena Vasquez published her research on emotional resonance technology, sharing humanity's greatest discovery with any species willing to work toward peace. But the other races soon learned that the technology was useless without the specific neural structures that evolution had given to humans alone. "Your species evolved something unique," she explained to a gathering of alien scientists. "Your pack-hunting ancestors and strong family bonds created brain structures that allow emotions to affect quantum fields. No other species we have tested can replicate this phenomenon." Earth became the center of a new galactic confederation based on voluntary cooperation rather than forced submission. Admiral Tanaka established the Seoul Defense Force not as a tool of human expansion, but as a peacekeeping organization that helped species resolve conflicts without warfare. The galaxy learned that humans possessed the greatest military advantage possible: the ability to transform love into power, to fight not for what they wanted, but for what they were determined to protect. It was a lesson that reshaped interstellar politics for generations to come. In the end, the Galactic Council's greatest mistake was not underestimating human technology or tactics. Their error was fundamental. They assumed that humans were conquerors like themselves, driven by ambition and greed. They never imagined that a species could be most dangerous when it fought purely to defend what it cherished most. The war had lasted 5 days. 9,682 alien ships had been destroyed. 18 had escaped to carry the news across the galaxy. And humanity had taken its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as the protectors of all who sought peace in a universe that had finally learned the true meaning of strength.